Oh, yeah. What's up, guys? Hobbo88 here, and welcome back to iRacing for another build week. And that means new content. And of course, as always, we're checking out the latest dirt track to come to iRacing, and we're going to preview it with all the different cars this time around. The new track is Kern County. It is in Bakersfield, California, and this is a bit of a unique sort of setup, really, because it's got the dirt track, which is a 1/3 mile track, which also has the micro dirt track on the infield, and you can see that in the background here, the very small dirt circle in the center there. Probably, yeah, more so for micros and cars like that as well. But it's also at a complex that's got a half-mile oval track, which you can see in the distance in the background as well, all part of the same complex. We're not going to worry about that part of it today. We're just going to be looking at the dirt tracks. Predominantly, I'm going to go through here and run all the cars around the main track, and we might do Legends and perhaps the Midgets on the mini dirt oval as well, just to check that out, because they're probably the only cars on the service right now that are really relevant to that particular track. But I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, this is what it is. We're going to go out and have a bit of a burn around. In the description below, I'll include timestamps to each of the different vehicles, so you can jump to whichever one you want to see on the track just by going down into the description and finding that. But I mean, that's pretty much it, guys. That's all I've got to say here to kick things off. So before we even worry about anything else, let's go check out the Dirt Legend here at Kern County. All right, so let's go ahead and check out the facility a little bit first before we worry too much about blazing around. So we're in our little Dirt Legend, and I honestly don't know anything about this track. I've never seen racing here before. I've never heard of this track before, to be honest, until it was coming to iRacing. So we have a little look. It is, by the look of it, entirely fenced around the outside. Exit into the pit area appears to be here at the end of the main straight. We'll go out there in just a second and have a bit more of a look around. The inner edge of the racing surface has got like a berm, so that's interesting. It's a little bit like Knoxville, I guess, in that regard. I guess we'll figure out with time whether or not you can run around sort of very close to that or even on it to be fast. The backstretch has sort of got a bit of a dirt area, I guess, just on the inside of the track. But when you come around to the front stretch is where we have the mini oval, and for the sake of interest here, I'll just quickly roll around the mini oval and have a look. To give you some perspective, this mini oval is like 0.14 or 0.15 mile, very, very short. You do load into this separately to not have the tow truck on it, so we'll do that in a minute and actually do some laps around here. But it is smaller than the Chili Bowl. To give you some reference, the Chili Bowl is a 1/4 mile, so it is very, very small, probably mostly used for micro racing and stuff like that, which there is not on the sim at the moment. We've got a black flag for cutting the course there, which is fine, because we're just driving around and having a bit of a look. So here's the pit area, got a weighbridge, and other than that, oh, you cannot actually get out to there. I did not expect that. There's like an invisible wall here, so you can't even go exploring around what would be looks like the main pavement oval up there, up that hill. You can't really see it because of the screen. Yeah, you cannot go out there at all. So it looks like the edge of, you can kind of see the edge of the ground here. Out there. Yep. That's as far out as we can go in the pit area. I mean, you don't need to explore in the outer areas anyway, but I always like to go check that stuff out. So that's your pit area. Spotter's calling the pit bays. We've got some equipment, water truck, all the usual stuff, some lights and things like that, and then that's it. So straight back onto the track. So I'm going to go ahead and hop out here. We'll clear our black flags and we'll go out on track. Okay, so let's go out again. For those of you who are new to this and these videos that I do, I'd always run either the iRacing baseline setup, in the case of this car, it's the iRacing baseline setup, or the track-specific iRacing setups that are provided. So in some of the other cars, there'll actually be an iRacing setup for this track. So we're just using those, no custom sets or anything, just what iRacing has available to us. Oh. So let's get out here and do a few laps in this Dirt Legend. I'm going to be a little bit rusty in the dirt cars, guys. I don't know that I've even driven a lot of them since the new... Maybe I've done a track preview since the new iRacing dirt model was released. I can't remember. But they might all be a little bit different. I'm not sure. As you guys know, I have not spent much time in the dirt on iRacing in recent times, so we'll just see how we go. But I always do these videos and I always really enjoy cutting laps. A little legend goes right around here. We are at morning time of day, 100% track, 0% track state, I should say. So completely heavy track, no slick at all, and it is the morning. Drives around here pretty good. It is a fairly small track, so these cars are probably fairly well suited to this. It's also nice and wide. I'm trying to figure out where the sort of line is going to be, where the fast way around the track is. And I feel like, particularly in these cars, multi-groove for sure. Like, if anything, right around the top is a little too far in these to be fast. Looks like the banking kind of flattens out a little bit right on top of the corners, so the cushion's not going to be necessarily right against the fence. You can kind of see actually where the edge of the track or the racing groove will be. It's about a car width away from the fence, and then it flattens out right as you get to the wall. So that'll be tricky in some of the more powerful cars when you get to right up to the fence. You can see there's just nothing to lean on when you get high. But I think right around the top in these cars will be a little too far. I feel like you'd be running mid and low track more often. The exit of turn 4, very tight. I think you got a little bit, it feels like you got a little bit more room on the backstretch because that's where your pit exit mark is. But for sure, the exit of turn 4, it tightens up a lot. You end up right out near the fence very quickly, so that'll be tricky as well. Overall though, I really like this little track. I think it's great. There's something about it in my very initial impressions that, like, it feels like it's got a lot of character to it. I think that the walls with all the mud build up and stuff like that on them help with that. But yeah, overall I'd say I really like this. For my first impression, I'm really enjoying that. What I'll do, guys, is I'll throw up a replay, a few of those laps on screen while I go ahead and load in to the short track, the mini oval here in this car, and we'll have a quick look at that. So let's do that. All right, here we go. So let's check out the mini oval. And interesting, straight off the bat there, that the pits, which I wasn't sure about that, I didn't even think about it, run around the outside of the track. You can see that they just go around the outside and down the back stretch, so that's pretty cool. But anyway, here we go. Let's get up to speed and see what this little mini track's all about. We're running the chili bowl set for this car because there isn't one for this track specifically. Might need third gear, I reckon, actually. Oh yeah, just in the limiter at the end of the straight there in third. Wow, it's so small. I don't believe iRacing have ever announced like micros or anything like that to come to iRacing at this point, but I imagine that they will eventually, and that's what this track will be sort of good for. The track limit on the inside is a little undefined there. Not sure how much you can cut before you start to get into trouble. Sort of starting to get into a little bit of a rhythm. Oh! I'm starting to get dizzy, guys. I'm starting to get dizzy. It is, I mean, it is what it is, isn't it? It's just a small little mini oval on the infield. There's not a lot more to say than that, but I'd love to get you guys' thoughts about it. You let me know what you think in the comments below, but where does the pits go here? Around the pole or inside the pole? Must be a, wow, see, that's undefined as well. I don't know if you go around the front of the, like, grandstands, who knows? But anyway, we'll come back and have another look at this later in the Midget as well. We'll check out the infield track later on in the Midget, but we'll roll a few laps of the replay there. We'll get ready for the next car. It is time for the dirt street stock. We've moved the time of day now to noon, middle of the day, and the track state to 30%, guys, 30%. The setup that we've got on the car is the Kern Dirt set. That's what they're calling the setups for the dirt track here that iRacing have provided, so that's what we've got. It's going to take me a minute to try and find a bit of a rhythm in this car. It is so big and heavy. That's a little bit too aggressive on the turn in. Clutch kick. The street stock's a funny car for me. I'll briefly just talk about the car because, well, I don't really like racing this car the times I have raced it. It's too big and cumbersome and slow, really, to be able to race people. I think everyone ends up just being so evenly matched in this car that it's sort of hard to race them without you know, beating doors and racing a little too hard for my liking. You got to rough people up a bit to get anywhere with these cars, but I do really enjoy just driving them. They sound cool. They're very weighted, so they actually feel heavy, which is something that a lot of sims don't get right with heavy cars. But this thing actually feels heavy, you know? So it feels like quite genuine, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, to drive, but I just don't normally like racing them. But let's talk about the track for a minute. So what I'm seeing by the iRacing generated track wear is it looks like that lower line is definitely the preferred way around here, because that's the line that's worn the most. And I'm assuming that with time we'll start to get up higher on the track, but it looks like the low line is probably where we want to be early on. I'm digging the iRacing track wear, generated track wear. There's some big holes in the slick, and in this car, even as the track slickens off, you still can drive it through the slick and be fast, like I sort of am here. But I like the holes. I sort of said at the start that the track had character, like in how it felt, the general vibe of the place, but even the track wear, based on this, like there's character in the track. It's not just perfectly flat, you know, like a billiard table, which some of these tracks on iRacing do end up like. And maybe that's partly to do with some of the new build stuff that's come with the tracks and the way that they wear and stuff too. I haven't done a lot of dirt racing lately, so I know there's a bit of stuff that's different about all that now, but I like it. I like it. It feels good. We won't do any laps around the mini track in this car, because that would, I mean, it would almost be funny, wouldn't it? But that is not the sort of track that these cars are built for. So we're going to go ahead and skip on up to the UMP Modified next. I'll roll a few laps of the replay here for you guys, but yeah, the UMP Modified next. I'm looking forward to that, actually. I think that'll be good fun. UMP Modified. I love these cars. Again, we've just got the Kern Dirt setup that iRacing provides on this car. It's now afternoon for time of day, and the track state is at 60%. Let's see if I can figure out how to drive these. One of my favourite dirt cars to drive, if I'm honest. If I remember, I might turn the mirror off as well for the rest of the cars, because we don't really need a mirror for this stuff. But yeah, we're at 60% track state, so it's starting to wear. You can see that that line is moving up past the, beyond the mid-track now. The sweet spot's sort of probably three-quarter track. Oh, a little bit too adventurous down into turn 1. There is really, like I sort of mentioned back in the Legend car, there isn't really much to lean on if you get up high. Like, that top line has got not a lot to offer. I do not have a tear off button map for this car, apparently, so I cannot clear that mud. I love these cars. This is always where these videos start to get exciting for me. Get to drive these faster cars that I don't otherwise drive. Ah, yeah. I need to get back into racing these things. They're just so fun. See if we can get down onto the bottom at all. A lot of wheel spin off the corner there through the slick. So I'm starting to get the feeling that there'll probably end up being a really good top and bottom option for these, like at this track in most cars. Because this bottom line sort of still, except for there where I've missed it completely, still has plenty of juice in it. If you're able to get down there and run on it. And then the high line will be what it will be. I think the nature of the track will make it very, very tight though, coming up off the corners. Like, the bottom line, you won't be able to really easily hold the bottom off the corner. So you're going to have people, probably the people on the top with the big run, making decisions about whether or not to just send it around the top or back out of it. And again, the surface, lots of detail. It isn't perfect, like there's lots of bumps and character to it, which I'm really enjoying. I think that will probably about do it for us here in this car. I've really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. It'll take something pretty enjoyable to top that, I think. I say that every time, and who knows, but I really enjoyed that. We're not going to do the little mini oval in this car either, but the next one we will. We're going to check out the Midget next, and we'll come back and do both the big and little track with the Midget. So I hope you're looking forward to that. That's what'll be next. Let's watch a few laps of the replay here in this car, and then we'll be back for that. I don't know why I always do this to myself, guys. I end up in the Midget on a slick track. It's still afternoon, but we are at 100% track state in the Midget with the Kern dirt set up on the car, and I'm probably going to crash because that's what will probably happen. This car with completely slick track, but we want to see what it looks like at 100% track state, so here we go. Let's see whether or not I can keep it wheels down for a few minutes here while we check it out. And as I sort of suspected, even at 100% track state, there is still a bit of room up here Oh, on the top before we get to the wall. So it certainly flattens out right at the very edge of the track, at the fence up there. So you don't want to be that adventurous. I don't have a tear-off button map for this car either. That shows how infrequently I run these dirt cars, because I've had this wheel for, what, 12 months or something now, and I still haven't had... haven't been in the car enough to map buttons for it. So... there's a bit of a perilous edge to the high line at this track, because I feel like once you go beyond the limit of that sort of cushion, you're probably going to put it in the wall. Oh, yeah. Ah, damn, I love the midgets. You almost always feel like you're going to go in the fence, and then you just sort of catch it. They're so drivable. I shouldn't say that, because now I'll probably actually catch the fence. Let's see if we can run down low at all, even though it's 100% track state, and see whether or not there's any theory to this low line still being half okay. So I'll just try and work my way down here, figure it out. Sort of do a bit of that Knoxville berm riding. That's too fast. That's in the slick. So I think there's an argument to be made here for the bottom. If you're a better driver than I am, that there might be two grooves still. There's tracks like, trying to think of a good example. Lernerville's probably a good example. They're just one line. They're very one line. Like, it's not easy to run the bottom at Lernerville and be fast. And that frustrates me. I want to see tracks where you can race each other, so I feel like there's good options here. You've got potentially a top, a bottom, and because the track is quite wide, I almost think there's a good opportunity for a slider at this track too. Try and run a little bit of a slider line. That was not very well done. Neither of those were very well done. It might be difficult. Might be difficult to get the run down there and clear. Oh, that exit of turn 4, very tight. Like I said earlier, it tightens up a lot. The exit of turn 2 actually feels very wide. It almost gives off that D-shape feel, like the track's like a D sort of shape. Like the extreme example, I think, for that would be like Weed Sport. I don't think it's anything like that, but you know what I mean. An open exit off of 2, an open entry into 3, but a tight exit off 4 and a tight entry into 1. That huge mud spot, that's frustrating. With no tear-off button. I think that's good enough anyway. Let's go and have a look at the mini oval as well on 100% track state, so you guys can see what it looks like at both extremes, 0 to 100%. And we'll do that right now. And this will be interesting. Okay, so on the mini track, 100% track state in the Midget. There's a good chance we're going to flip right here. Let's see. There is a specific setup for this car at this track, Kern Dirt Mini or something. So that's what we're running here. Oh, right out towards the fence. I thought we were going to get the fence there in the middle of the backstretch. This track is legit tiny. Like, Chili Bowl feels really small. Chili Bowl is actually quarter mile. It's not as small as it seems. This is genuine. Whoa, genuinely small, this one. 0.14 mile, I think it was. It's actually pretty good fun. I think you can have a pretty decent race. The nature of this sort of track, though, is that you're going to have to make contact with people. And I don't know how well the Midget would handle that sort of stuff. Oh! Wow, I thought we were going to get into the wall there. Into the end of the wall. We touched it there on the backstretch. You don't ever even get the wheel straight, like. It's actually very good fun to drive around. It's just like a full circle drift. Alright, let's call it there. Next we've got the Wingless Sprintcar, which is always where I crash, so when I do these things. So we'll come back and have a look at that. And yeah, I mean, that's the Midget on the mini track. It's just chaos, really. I can see already. I like it. Let's be back for the Wingless Sprintcar next. Okay, it's the Big Daddy Winged Sprintcar 410. Late afternoon, I moved the track state back to 40%, so I've got half a chance of not dying. And let's see what we get here. Let's see how we go. Straight away, questioning my decision. This is always the one. This is always the car that ruins these things for me because I crash and flip and look stupid. Let's try and not do that today. I believe in recent times too, I've used the 360 version, not the 410, to give me a little bit more chance of surviving. But not today, we're being brave. So late afternoon, we're starting to get that sun glare off the slick coming down the back stretch into 3. These cars are just brutal. I still think it's the only dirt car on the service that feels like it's driving me, not the other way around. I can't even talk while I'm driving it. I'm just trying to hang on. Have I got any control over where I'm going at all? Let's see if we can do a bit of a low line. Oh, a little bit too much inside berm. I thought I lined that one up perfectly. Evidently not quite. Does feel like the berm is a little bigger down here in 3 and 4, but then maybe not. Alright, I've got no hope. Let's just drive wherever it wants to go. I can almost drive it, make it look like I know what I'm doing when we're running that mid groove 3/4 track line. Or maybe not. I'm so terrified of trying to run it high because I know the wall comes out and grabs you so easy. I'm carrying so much speed off of 2 that I get down to 3 and just like panic. Get the car way over sideways to try and wash some speed off. That's a bit better. Starting to get the hang of it. But I legit think we need to stop while we're ahead. Oh man. Right, big block modifieds. Let's check out the big block modifieds next. Okay, big block modified. Secretly one of my favorite cars. They're very unique to drive, but I do love these things. I don't ever do the 357s in these videos. I just do the big blocks, but we moved the track state up to 75%. It's still late afternoon. These ones always take a couple of laps just to get a feel for how to drive because they are very unique. You got to drive these things very differently. But I do enjoy them. That afternoon sun beaming in. Ooh. That exit of turn 4, very, very tight. These are the sort of cars where you really can run the bottom. You drive them a lot straighter than nearly any other dirt car, in my opinion. Oh yeah, once you get up over the top, there's nothing to save you. We almost got the fence right there. Oh, I love that. Bouncing through the holes. Wow, wow, wow. So there is a bit of a hole there on the high side in 3 and 4. See if we can actually hit it properly again this time. Wasn't quite as obvious there, but you can sort of still hear it. You probably hear it more than you see it. Like, wow, wow, wow. A bit smoother if you stay a bit lower. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Not where you want to be hitting the wall on the entry to the corner. Yeah, big hole up there. I love that though. Wow, wow. Here's another one of those cars that you can kind of drive in the slick and still be quick. I mean, in real life, you look at these cars, they're always racing on extremely slick tracks. Long format races. Sometimes they're like basically slick tarmac. I don't know if that's a characteristic of the cars or more the tracks that they tend to race on up in the northeast or wherever it is that they're predominantly. Bang, got the wall pretty good there. I could spend all day driving these cars around, they're just fun. We won't, that'll be it, we'll do it. A look at the replay here on these ones. Next we head to one of the ones that's a bit contentious for me is the NASCAR trucks. You guys always let me know when I don't include the trucks that I should, so we'll do that. We'll come back and have a look at those next. We'll move into a bit later sunset time of day and have a look at what they're like around this track. All right, we're in the NASCAR truck. These are always a little bit tricky because there's never a dirt set up for the specific tracks that we're on for these. So we're just using the Eldora dirt set for this. It's as close as we're going to be able to get. Not sure if we'll be third or fourth gear. It's a bit shorter track. I think it was 50% track state. That's now sunset for the time of day. Now, they're not really a traditional dirt car, but, and you guys always say you got to do trucks when you do these videos, which I don't entirely agree with because you never see a truck running on this track, for example, but they're just about the most fun of all the cars to drive on dirt tracks. I love them. They're extremely difficult to drive, very challenging. I also don't edit my steering ratio or anything, so I'm running like, I don't know how many degrees of lock, but you got to work really hard to drive them. A lot of like finesse in the pedal work, especially to drive them. You can see I'm struggling a little bit there, particularly with 1 and 2. It always takes a minute to sort of remember how to do it. Man, I'm really struggling with turn 2. It's like there's a bump in the middle of 1 and 2 and it just gets the car extra sideways, or the truck. It's not so bad down here in 3 and 4. I don't know if I'm just driving it in too fast here. Took a narrower entry that time and it worked a little better. There we go, that was better. But I think you got to drive these more than any other car on the dirt, which is what I like about them. I'm not going to bother trying to move around and run the bottom and stuff. Just a lot of fun. I think I say it every time, but I wish there were like a series, these in a series. I think they make for a great dirt series, the trucks. Anyway, I think that'll do it. You guys get the point. We're going to come back in another non-conventional dirt car next, and that's going to be the Offroad Truck, so Pro 2 trucks. We'll see what they're like around here as well, so back for that next. Welcome back. Time for the Pro 2 Off-Road Truck. This is the rear-wheel drive truck, not the front, not the four-wheel drive one. Much better for this sort of stuff, the dirt racing. We're just using the baseline setup because there is obviously no oval dirt setups for this. Looks like second gear is going to be the go. Still sunset for the time of day, and I bumped the track state back to 20%, I think it was, for this one. I'd love to see like a Pro 2 version of this track, actually, where you come around off of turn 4 and do a hairpin into the entry of the infield little mini track, and then you go around the mini track backwards, then join back on at the front, the main straight there, turn around, and add like a couple of jumps or something into the dirt oval on in the backstretch here. And like they used to run, I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen like the old, I don't know, they might still do it, I don't know, but I know back in a long time ago now that they used to run the oval tracks quite a bit for these sort of trucks, with some jumps on them and some infield layouts and things like that. Pretty sure I remember seeing Charlotte had that set up once, but there's certainly a few. They're actually pretty good to race on an oval, like a dirt oval, particularly the smaller ones like this. Oh, this is actually a lot of fun. See if we can move around. Be able to take all the inside berms and stuff in these things. They're just so nice to drive, like they're easy to drive. Very controllable. And just fun, like huge drifts. I think I've only ever raced them on an oval once or twice before. I think we did a race at Lernerville one time. It was really good. There's enough room even on the backstretch here to do something probably too, with an alternate layout for these things. But I'd love it if you could do this, like had some kind of a setup in here. Maybe have a jump here on the entry to 1. Big jump down here on the backstretch. That'd be cool, wouldn't it? Didn't even get a black flag for that. Watch out for the truck. You can go through it anyway, I think. Little jump here, boing boing. Be awesome. Anyway, guys, I think that's enough. You get the picture. Now it's time to get serious. We need to do two very important cars next. We're going to do the super late model at night time. We'll move to night time and check that out, see if the lights work around here. And then we'll come back and do the sprint car, 410 sprint cars, to round things out here for this video. So we're getting into the big stuff now. So here we go, late model, super late model, and you might notice that we're not under the lights. Now there is stadium lights around the track, you can see them, but apparently they don't work. iRacing nicely puts a little notification up to say the night lights don't work here, are you sure you want to race at night? And I loaded in to check it, and rightly so, there is no lights for racing at night time around this track. It's not the first dirt track to have that, but I am surprised because there's clearly lights around the venue, but obviously don't work. I don't know if they work in real life, but they don't work in the sim. So no night racing. So we're back in the afternoon. Track percent, it's about 50% again here, I think, for this. Just on the iRacing provided Kern dirt setup, race setup. We're gonna rip a few laps here in the super late model. Oh, just on the fence. There really is nothing up at the top to hold you, really. Oh, that's loose. Very loose. Saved it. Tell you what I do need is a new paint for this car. It's a very old paint. But I just don't drive it. I don't drive it very often, the late model, which is an absolute crime because it is one of the best. Straight away, I feel at home in it. I have heard, and I guess it's a matter of opinion, but I have heard that the late models are a lot better now on the new physics build for dirt on iRacing. It feels pretty awesome right now. In the slick there, a bit loose. It is very hard to say like what the racing will be like in some of these sort of cars around here. Like, it feels wide enough that there should be good racing, but you don't really know until you get out there with other cars and actually see what it's like. Ooh, 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 ooh. Hang on to it. It's just very hard to run the absolute top. I don't think it's going to be one of those tracks. It's going to be a bit like Lucas Oil, maybe, is a good example, where you just can't go and rip the fence at this track. There is a high line here, but it's not against the wall. So up there, right against the fence there, you got to get out of it. Can't carry that momentum up there very well at all. Oh, bit tight, bit loose. Actually got the wall on the main stretch there. A little bit too high that time, didn't quite hit the bottom. The entry to 3 is tricky on the bottom. I'm sure that you'd be able to run that line though if you figured it out. We know I'm not very good, so I'm sure that a good driver would be able to figure out how to hit this line and make it work. There we go. A bit better. Just drifting a little high on the corner exits. That's a bit better. Well, that's the super late model, guys. I love this car. It's a lot of fun to drive. It's just a shame that I don't drive it more, but around here it feels good. Still feel like there's a lot of character in the racing surface. It's not just a hold it flat and just send it sort of track. You are going to have to drive the cars around here, which is what I like about it. We will now find out whether or not that's the case in a sprint car, because so often in a sprint car it's just hold it flat and go. So let's see what it's like. And the big 410 Winged Sprintcar next to round it out. Okay, so before we roll out here, one thing I'll say that's very entertaining is the fact that there is a mini track set up for this car at this track. Could you imagine the 410 sprint car around the infield track? But anyway, we're not going to look at that. We're going to just hit the outside track here, the main 1/3 mile Kern County in 410 sprint car. Got the track state down to 10%, so it should be nice and hooked up. We should be able to just let her rip. Let's see what we get. It is just on the iRacing supplied Kern dirt setup. Oh. There is a huge bump that I have not felt in any other car until this, right in the middle of 1 and 2. And of course also, I say just let her rip. Right there's a bump, it's jerking the wheel. You can no longer just mat it in a sprint car essentially like you used to be able to. With the new build on dirt, you do have to drive them a lot more now. There's a huge bump in 1 and 2. It's not upsetting the car that much, but It's just about ripping the direct drive wheel out of my hands. What if we go lower? Oh yeah, it's there as well. What about higher? Oh, it didn't even really get higher. It's like, oh yeah, it's still there, but it's further around. Interesting. I wonder if it's a setup thing or if it's the actual track. There's a huge bump. And it's not even really a bump. Well, it is. It is a bump. But it doesn't upset the car near as much as it upsets the steering wheel. Like, it is just about ripping the wheel out of my hand. It's that bad. That wasn't so bad. Through the middle. It's interesting. It's not a problem or anything, it's just a characteristic of the track. I actually like that. I like that there's some character there. Bang! I'm looking forward to checking out the replay to see if you can actually notice the car bouncing through that. There's lots of that stuff going on everywhere though. The wheel, it's got a lot of feedback. There's little bumps and stuff all over the place. But that one in turns 1 and 2 is very pronounced. So I could definitely see a slider line working as the track slickens off. So I think you could race here. I think you could race and pass. Got a little bit of a bump there in 3 and 4, like the one in 1 and 2, if you hit it just right. Didn't feel it that time. Oh, that one in 1 and 2 is big. Oh, bang. Exit of 4's tight. I think that broke the car just a little bit. You can see the feedback on my wheel. Like it clips a lot. It's in the orange a lot. But you watch it go through the bump here, it'll go orange, orange. I didn't actually hit it that time. But the feedback bar up there, the F bar up the top right hand corner. Let's see if we hit it this time. See, it dips all the way back down to 0. That's how much of a difference there is in the force feedback. And I think it's because the wheels are hitting the bump and coming off the ground. That's really interesting, guys. Really interesting. That's a lot of fun. I do enjoy the sprint car on iRacing a lot. It's the only thing I've really driven on the new build as well. So it feels a little bit more natural, but that's really good fun, guys. I really enjoyed it. Overall, I think the track has a lot of potential for good racing. I like the fact that there's an infield layout for something different. I like the fact that there's a lot of character to it, even in the racing surface. Like we just talked at length there about that bump that I only felt in the sprint car. But there are lots of different things going on this track surface. It's alive, really, in my opinion, more so than most other tracks I can remember driving on in iRacing. So that's really cool. I like the visuals. I like the fences. I don't know. All around, I like it. I think it's good, and I think it's going to provide some good racing, which is what's important. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Hobo88. Twitch.tv/Hobo88. Check out the live streams. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.